All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. March Madness, baby. I think it is the best time of the year if you are a sports fan. I have always felt that way. I think the NCAA tournament is just nothing short of fantastic. It's unbelievable. And I just love it when a number 1 seed plays a number 16 seed. I just think it's fantastic. It's fun to watch. Even if teams get belted right by 30 or 40 points. It's fun to watch. So if you are a UNLV basketball fan, you know that the program has suffered mightily the last several years. I thought it was a bad hire when they hired Dave Rice, and turned out history was on my side because, well, he was fired midseason. You could say that was a mistake. You could say that was, disappointing. Whatever the case may be, brought the program back several years, and that's fine. That's fair criticism, and I agree with it, actually. But then they hired Marvin Menzies, and he took over a horrendous situation. I mean, absolutely horrendous. So Marvin Menzies takes over. Year 1 was a disaster. Not really his fault. But then year 2, Marvin Menzies takes over with the top class in the Mountain West Conference. And how does that year end? Well, it didn't end very good. They lose their last 5 games in conference. Crowd size continues to diminish. And what ends up taking place is fans stop showing up to games. And fans stop showing up to games. They continue to lose money. And when UNLV continues to lose money, they panic. What do? Marvin Menzies' 3rd year this year, another disappointing season. And another disappointing year and a disappointment in March. When was the last time UNLV had a successful March? I would argue Lon Kruger, the year they made it to the Sweet 16. That was a fantastic year. Kevin Kruger was our point guard. So Marvin Menzies gets fired. We were the first to report that was going to happen last Thursday, a week from today. And then the following day on Friday, he's let go. Here's the part about this that's concerning to me. The part about this that's concerning to me is that why don't they have another coach? Why is there not another coach ready to go? Why did they not have another coach in waiting? I mean, isn't that detrimental to the program? And I understand you want to make a good hire. I understand you want to make the right hire. This is an enormously important decision for UNLV, for Desiree Reed-Francois, for the UNLV program. This is really important. You want to make the right decision. But at the same time, I do wonder to myself, when did this coaching search start? When did it start? Now, if the search started, let's just say on Friday, that's what Desiree Reed-Francois says, and I'm going to go by what she says. If the search started on Friday, my question is, why didn't it start earlier? Why didn't this coaching search start a month ago? Now, some of you might be saying, well, maybe they didn't know they were going to fire Menzies. Come on, give me a break. You're telling me a month ago you didn't know that you were going to fire Marvin Menzies? What could have saved his job? What could have saved Marvin Menzies' job in the last month of the season? The only thing I can think of is if you won the Mountain West Conference tournament. I don't think anything else could have saved his job. So now we're in a situation where you hear all these names being floated around, right? We spoke a lot about Mike Miller yesterday, and then all of a sudden there's an article in the paper today about the Millers. I find that a little bit ironic, but that's okay. We talked about Mike Miller and his brother Ryan Miller. We talked about some of the other names. We know that Thad Matta will not accept this job. Not interested in it. We know that Frank Martin, not interested in this job. I don't think Steve Halford's in the mix either. Haven't heard any buzz about Jason Kidd. So all the names that are in the hat right now, I don't hear of a lot of excitement, but I'm going to give you one name. One name that I think that would turn this program around. One name that I think would get the fans excited again. One name that could win here. And some of you are probably going to laugh because you're going to say, well, Brian, that would never happen. His name is Eric Musselman, the head coach of Nevada Reno. I've received information from some sources that tell me that he would take this job if the money was right. Here's where the issue is with that. Would the regents allow it? Would they block it? Would they not allow him to come here? Are you telling me that all the fans at UNLV wouldn't just thrive on that? They wouldn't love the fact. They wouldn't love the fact that UNLV is taking UNR's coach. I mean, the fans here would eat that alive. They would love it. Oh, and by the way, Musselman's a pretty damn good coach. He's turned Nevada Reno around entirely. He's turned that around completely. Like I said, the only thing that's blocking that, or that would block that, are the Board of Regents. Or maybe the president. They could block it. But I'm just not 100% sure. But what I do know is that he would be a slam dunk. I absolutely know that he would be a slam dunk. That would work. You know, with Desiree Francois, she has a history of hiring, up-and-coming coaches. That's kind of her history. I just don't think that's going to work here. You have a fan base that is very disgruntled. You've got 2,000 or 3,000 fans that are going to games. The team is in disarray. You have a lot of players that are leaving. That's a problem. Whoever takes over this program is going to have to be able to recruit. And they're going to have to be able to recruit at a very high level. They're going to have to be able to coach. They're going to have to be able to get out in the community. And some of these big-name coaches, they just don't want this job. Just call it what it is. They just don't want it. It's not the job that it once was. I've given you my names of people that I think would do a great job here. I've given you those names. Larry Stacey's not going to get the job here. It's just not going to happen. I think Mike Miller and Ryan Miller would do a good job. I really do. But I'm not sure that any of these other coaches out there besides a Rick Pitino would be able to get fans in the stands right away. I don't think, put it this way, I think UNLV's in a really bad spot. And I think a lot of it is their fault. Some of it's bad luck. I think Beard was a fantastic hire if he had stayed. So I think it's a mixture of a lot of things. I think it's a mixture of bad luck, bad basketball decisions, and I am really hopeful that UNLV's athletic director will make the right decision here. I'm hopeful. I don't know. But I've given you some names that I think would turn this thing around. I'll open up the phone lines if you guys want to talk hoops, talk NCAA tournament, talk UNLV hoops. Do you think Desiree Reed-Francois is going to make the right decision? What type of coach do you think that she should go after, hire? What do you think about Eric Musselman? If somehow they could make that work, do you think Eric Musselman would excite the fan base? Do you think they would be able to turn this thing around? I'll open up the phone lines now. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. If you want to be a part of the program, we're talking a little UNLV hoops. And by the way, Nevada Reno, speaking of Musselman, they are ousted in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I know a lot of UNLV fans probably be happy to hear that. Shows you how bad, though, the Mountain West Conference is, isn't it? The Mountain West Conference is just atrociously horrible. It's one of the worst conferences in the country. And Nevada was the poster child for the face of the conference, and then Utah State decided to change that and say, no, I think we're the best team in the league. I think Utah State wins tomorrow in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I do. They play a UW team that just got destroyed against Oregon in Vegas last week in the finals of the Pac-12. I don't think UW is as good as people think they are. I really don't. I never have, quite frankly. So, yeah, I do think Utah State wins tomorrow, and the Mountain West Conference at least gets one win in the NCAA tournament, which is better than none. But Nevada's performance today was atrocious. I don't put that on Musselman. I just think they just didn't play well. They weren't making shots. Take your calls now at 257-5396. Again, 702-257-5396 if you want to be a part of the program. Let's start with Ed. Ed, thanks for calling in. How are you, Ed?
Oh, fine. Do you really think that the demographic in the state is still conducive to college basketball? Say 30 years ago, you had 15% African American, maybe 80% white, and the rest Hispanic, Asian. Now more Asians and Hispanics or Latinos or whatever you want to call them. They're more soccer oriented. It's not to say Asians and Hispanics don't watch basketball, but I mean, aren't a lot of people whacking off on video games and e-game tournaments and that sort of thing?
I guess I'm a little bit.
College rowing used to be a big deal in the 20s and 30s. Tens of thousands of people would line up to watch people row back east.
Not today.
In Seattle.
Not today. I'm a little bit confused, Ed. So I'm trying to understand what you're saying. You're saying that how is race an issue in this coaching search? I'm trying to understand your point.
I don't know. It's not really. Well, I don't know if the coach is racially oriented, but if you ask people of Latin American heritage, no matter what their race is, just people from Latin America, whether they're white, black, or Native American, or what have you, mestizo, and you ask them what's their favorite sport, I think it'd be soccer, then baseball, then.
You think that's why the reason why people aren't showing up to UNLV games?
Partially, I think at the college level, I think it's more people into things like e-games or extreme sports, skateboarding.
Ed, have you been to a sports book? Have you been to a sports book today or tomorrow or Saturday or Sunday? Do you realize how popular college basketball is?
Well, it's popular for people to bet on. Of course, your Democrat friends want to license handicappers now. I haven't heard your take on that. It seems like they're coming up with a bunch of piddly laws. Like, who cares whether a handicapper's licensed or not? I mean,
Well, they want to. I'll tell you why. Because they don't want bookies walking around the streets taking other people's business. They want to make sure that they're licensed so that they can pay taxes and that it's a legitimate business. Ed, I think that's totally fine.
They're just giving tips. They're not taking bets.
That's still a job.
Tips.
That's a job, and you make money off of that. They're tips. They charge for those tips. Ed, you don't think that's
a general business?
Well, yeah. What's wrong with that?
They don't need a special sports book license any more than they should have a license to pick up antlers and horns off the desert or forest floors. But
okay.
I'm telling you, if it's, I think even if you had a more winning team, I don't think it's
well. There you go.
A choice for people.
Well, there you go, Ed. I appreciate the call, Ed. By the way, there you go. I mean, you just nailed it right there. You could have just said that. In that little bizarre phone call, but it comes down to winning. And I guarantee you, Ed, it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. It doesn't matter whether people are playing video games. The bottom line is if UNLV is winning and they have a winning record with a winning coach and they're doing things in March and maybe they're back to relevancy, I promise you the fans will show up. 257-5396, the number to call again, 257-5396, talking a little UNLV hoops. Let's go to John. John, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. My first requirement to coach is to get somebody that knows how to coach the offense and defense. That is a real tactician, kind of like Beard, finding that guy, because we haven't had a coach like that in a long, long time.
I think Kruger was that guy.
The offense was terrible.
Offense wasn't great. I agree with you, but you could say the same thing about Virginia. Their offense isn't great, but when you have a coach that is a defensive-minded coach, you're always going to be in games, and I think that's why Kruger was successful.
Right, and Kruger developed. Kruger had 2 out of 3. He developed players,
Yep.
and he had good defense, and he just missed the offense. So I would love to get a coach that could fit all 3, because no matter what, you're going to have to win at UNLV. It's the bottom line. You're going to have to win, and I just would like to see them find that first.
Well, you look at, for example, I'll give you Jim Boeheim, for example, right? I mean, we can all agree he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And for the 30 years he's been coaching, he's never been an offensive special. It's always that zone defense, right? And they always seem to get into the NCAA tournament, and he's won a gazillion games, right? I don't think you have to have a coach that is a specialist on both sides of the floor. I do think you have to have a coach. I think you're missing a couple things, and a couple of those things. First of all, you have to get out in the community. You have to be a personality. I think we all could agree Marvin Menzies was not that guy.
No.
Okay, right? We could agree on that. So I think you need to be a personality. You need to connect with the media and the fans. Would it be nice to have an exciting brand of basketball? Well, when Dave Rice came in here, he started with we're gonna run. We're the running rebels. We're gonna run. Well, how did that work out? It meant guys just taking bad shots and no offensive continuity, and that's why Dave Rice isn't the coach here. So while I agree with you, in a perfect world, it'd be nice if you could get a guy that can go defense, offense. Sure. Look at Beard. Look at Chris Beard. He is a defensive. I have never seen a coach like him before. He is such a great defensive-minded coach. I wouldn't look at Texas Tech and say, wow, their offense is spectacular to watch.
I would argue that it is, because he does not have good. He's developed players there that are good, and it's partly because the defense, why his offense will flourish a little bit, but they get good looks. I think you nailed it on the head when you talked to the assistant coach, and he said when they prepare for the Rebels, they run 4 offensive plays, where they're preparing another team that was running 25.
Yeah,
I mean, you didn't have to prepare under Rice, and you didn't have to prepare for the Rebels under Menzies. It didn't matter who they got as players. They just weren't going to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to say who it was, because I don't think he'd want me to. But yeah, I had drinks last week with a very prominent assistant coach in the Mountain West, and that's what he told me, and I believe him. He said, look, we prepare for all these teams. They have 20, 25 plays in the scouting report we have to prepare for. UNLV, it was 4. Now, how pathetic is that? I don't care how great of a defensive-minded coach you are. How can you only have them set up for 4 or 5 plays? All Menzies did in the offense, and maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it looked like a high pick-and-roll screen. Let's give the ball to Hardy, and let's see what he can create.
It.
How many times have you seen a great cut where UNLV gets a layup? Say what you want about Air Force. They don't have the talent, but those guys work hard, and they cut, and they go to the basket.
I will argue, and people that say, hey, keep Menzies, and Desiree did a terrible job, I will say this season, maybe throwing out his first season, this may be the worst season of basketball UNLV's ever put together. Arguably.
I think if you look at how horrible the conference is, and this is what I can't stand, John. I can't stand people that say, well, they had 11 wins in conference. People don't realize how horrible the conference was this year, because I guarantee you one thing, John. Let's rewind 5 or 6 years. I'm not sure UNLV wins 4 games in conference.
Nope.
Yeah,
no, they don't.
And I don't think a lot of fans, I'm glad you get that, I don't think a lot of fans that are drinking the Kool-Aid, or a lot of people in the media that I talk about on this show sometimes, understand how horrible this conference was this year. And I hope it gets better this year, John. Hey, it's good to hear from you, my man. I appreciate the call. Thank you. 257-5396 is the number to call again if you want to be a part of this conversation. 702-257-5396. I cannot believe that there are still people out there, both on the air and people that write, that are in the media, that still think firing Menzies was a bad idea. I don't care who they hire. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care who they hire. This was absolutely the right decision. And when I say I don't care, of course I care, but what I mean by when I don't care is that even if they hire a bad hire, what I would consider a bad hire, it will probably still be better than what we have had with Marvin Menzies. At least that's my opinion. That's my opinion anyway. Was that a cough sound effect? Is that what I just heard, Ken? Was that what that was? That was a cough sound effect. I like that. Where were you for the last hour and 50 minutes? You could have been playing those sound effects the entire show, man.
I didn't think about it until right now. I'm sorry.
Really, seriously, I had 103 temperature last night. I wake up this morning, I have a 102. I can barely talk right now. And for anyone that has never done radio before, let me just explain something to you all. Hold on, I got to cough again. Hold on. All right. Thank you. It's not easy doing a 2-hour show by yourself when you have a fever. I'm doing my best today, folks. I'm not usually as energetic, and I'm not myself when I don't call somebody a moron on the air. I haven't done that once today. Not once. I think I called somebody a clown. That's it. So it's a weird day for me today. I'm not really attacking the callers like I usually do, right, Ken?
It's questionable that you called someone a hypocrite, though. I mean,
I never called it. That's one word I never use. I don't call people I don't know where that came from. I don't know. He said I called him a hypocrite. What in regards to Donald Trump and McCain? I don't think that's one word not in my repertoire. I mean, I call people morons and idiots all the time. Those are words in my vocabulary. Hypocrite's never really been in my vocabulary. I don't know. Oh, speaking of hypocrite, okay, I'll use the word now. In regards to UNLV, for those of you out there that wanted Lon Kruger out the door and wanted Dave Rice in, you have zero credibility. I don't want to hear from you. Your opinion means nothing in regards to this coaching search because you are on the wrong side of history. Lon Kruger is a Hall of Famer. Lon Kruger is a guy that's going to go down in the record books as one of the best college coaches, one of the best in the business at turning programs around. And there are many people in this town that wanted him out the door. Yeah, you're a hypocrite. Dave Rice did not get it done here. But if you asked me who would you rather have, Dave Rice or Marvin Menzies, I would absolutely say Dave Rice because he won more games and his conference was better back then. And his out-of-conference schedule was much better. The problem now that we're facing is every single day that UNLV does not make a hire, it hurts the program. Now, I would rather them take a little bit more time and make the right hire, but with that being said, I cannot believe that they don't have somebody in place by now. Tomorrow's going to be a week. You would have liked to have thought that they would have gotten a coach within a week. But I got to tell you, man, if we're in April and they still don't have a head coach, that is a serious problem. That is not good. That is not good at all. I tend to think, at least I tend to hope, that UNLV makes a hire next week, because if they don't, that's bad news. I mean, again, why would Thad Matta take this job? He's making $3 million sitting on his ass doing nothing, and they're going to offer him $2.8 million. Why would he take that? Why would he take that and work for 2.8 when he doesn't have to do anything to make 3? Does that make any sense to anybody? I mean, everyone was saying that Thad was going to take, well, not me, but a lot of people were saying it was a done deal. Same people, on social media that were saying Patino's a done deal at $2.5 million a year. It was all nonsense. These people don't have sources. I talk to people every single day that have a huge, huge part of this coaching search, and even these people have no idea what's going to happen. I got a text message from one of them today that, again, is a UNLV legend and a huge part of this process of hiring the new coach. He's a big part of it. He texted me to say, he says, "Hey, Brian," text me this morning. He says, "What are your top 4 picks for a coach?" And I said, "Do you want my biased opinions, or do you want, what do you want?" So you could say I'm a little biased with a couple people, but I think Mike Miller and his brother would come out here and do a great job. I think Larry Eustace would absolutely kill it here. But those two are most likely not going to happen. So who would be my number 1 pick outside of those two? I said Eric Musselman. For obvious reasons. Completely turned Nevada around. He can recruit. And he's at UNR, which would be nice bragging rights for UNLV fans. And I've heard through some pretty reliable sources that he would be interested if the money was right. What are the negatives? Can anybody tell me what one negative would be in having Eric Musselman coach here at UNLV? You could give me a call right now. We got a few more minutes left. 257-5396 is the number to call. If they, and it's a big if they got Eric Musselman, can you name me one negative in hiring this guy? Because quite frankly, I can't think of one. If you want to give me a buzz, 257-5396. I think it would absolutely be a slam dunk. I think he'd recruit. I think he'd be able to turn this thing around. Right now, the UNLV program is at a similar point when he took it over at Nevada Reno. He turned the program around. They turned into a top 25 team. He got them to a Sweet 16. Disappointing how they ended the year this year, no doubt, but they were still, at one point a top 10 team in the country. So, yeah, I think Eric Musselman would recruit his butt off, and I think he would do a fantastic job here. I really do. So that was my number one pick. As far as anybody else goes, I can't really think of anybody that could turn this thing around that would get the fan base excited. I really can't. I can't think of it. The only person that you can hire that would immediately get people in the stands would be Rick Pitino, and we all know they're not hiring Rick Pitino. He is the only guy that you could hire right now that would legitimately, you could say to yourself, oh my God, we just got 5,000 new season ticket holders. He's the only guy that could do that. I can't think of anybody else. Next best to him that would get people in the stands is Eric Musselman. So don't give me this crap that some people say, well, if you're not going to hire Rick Pitino, you should have kept Marvin Menzies. No, that's an idiotic thing to say. There's plenty of good coaches out there. Even if you don't hire a big-name coach, there's better coaches out there. Much better coaches out there. Boy, I got to tell you, man, I hope I feel better tomorrow. This is brutal. In the 20 years I've done radio, I've never done a show where I've got about 30 Kleenexes over here. I've got orange juice to my right. I've got throat medication. Is Ken Thompson doing the show after me today, by the way?
Yeah, he's Golden Nugget, I think.
Oh, okay, he's so lucky he's not here because 100% he would get my disease. 150%. He's so lucky. My God. There's a lot of flu going around. There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't think I have the flu. Maybe I get sick when I get some calls of people that defend Donald Trump on a daily basis. Maybe that's what got me sick. I don't know. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Johnny. Johnny, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, what's up? Why couldn't we get Bobby Knight to come back with all the buffets in town?
That's funny. Well, listen, I gotta tell you something, man. If Bobby Knight decided to come out of retirement, I wouldn't oppose that hire.
No, Bobby Knight is more of a rush than Pitino. That dude is furious.
I gotta tell you though, I think Pitino would win a lot more games here, and he'd recruit better than Bobby Knight. I do feel that.
Well, yeah, that's because Bobby Knight slaps everybody. But, hey, I sure enjoyed your program today. I love the Trump stuff. I hope some more comes out of the grave. Oh, I guess the show's over. Dang.
We're almost done here. Yeah, we only got about a couple. I appreciate those compliments, Johnny. Thank you so much. All right, have a good one. Bobby Knight, how about that? Boy, I haven't thought about that in a while. I think Bobby Knight, last I heard, Bobby Knight's had some serious health issues. Bobby Knight's been a jerk his whole life. You know, what it says on his tombstone, it's not, when you think of the things that when you think Bobby Knight, I'm not going to think of, wow, great basketball coach. I think he was a jerk. He was an a-hole. He was a jerk. The way he treated his players, the way he treated his coaching staff, the way he treated the media, he was a loud, pompous jerk. Not to say that Pitino is much better. I mean, with all the investigations, with everything that he's done to his wife and family and all that other stuff. But I wouldn't be opposed to Rick Pitino being hired here because I think he would win, because I think he would turn the program around. Now, I don't know who they're going to hire. They could make an announcement tomorrow. I have no idea. All I know is this is a huge, huge decision for UNLV, and it will greatly affect the future of the program. Marvin Menzies was not the right guy for this job, period. He was completely the wrong guy for this job. I give UNLV credit for pulling the trigger and getting rid of Marvin Menzies, but that's only 50% of it. Now you have to make a good hire. So we're going to continue to monitor this, of course. I am going to go home and get some sleep and drink a bunch of orange juice and probably try to sleep till 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. I'm going to miss probably a few of the games tomorrow, but I am interested in that Utah State-UW game. I do think Utah State wins that game, so we will continue to monitor all that and all the ridiculous things that our president, Donald Trump, says on a daily basis. That's what I do. That's what we do on this show. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Ken Thompson coming up next from the Golden Nugget. I'm sure he will go over all the NCAA action from today and all the upcoming games coming up tomorrow as well. Thanks for joining us, everybody, on the Vegas State. Ken Thompson coming up next. Have a great night, everybody.